Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining today. My name is Vivian Frosto, and I am an Events and Programs Manager here at the Seattle Chamber. I am excited to bring to you our Executive Speaker Series. And today we're bringing together and recording with 4 leaders in the field. And we are going to be discussing the region's restaurant industry, including the successes, challenges, and opportunities our leaders have seen in the region in recent years. Before we get started, I do want to take a quick second to thank our sponsors, Business Health Trust, for their continued support of the Chamber's programming. And then we are going to dive right into the panel today. I know the restaurant industry is near and dear to many of our hearts. Not only is it a livelihood, but going out to eat is a way to relax, see your friends, try something new, and support your local economy. We do have a lot to talk about today, so I will welcome our panelists to turn on their cameras, and thank you so much for joining us. I will begin by introducing our moderator, Angela Dunleavy. Angela is an accomplished senior executive and entrepreneur with over 20 years of experience in the consumer, retail, and hospitality sectors, and has deep knowledge of social entrepreneurship, corporate, and nonprofit management. Angela has spent her career leading dynamic, high-growth organizations with expertise in change management, business operations, financial management, and innovative go-to-market strategies. Angela is CEO of Gourmondo Co., a premier catering and gourmet food company in the Seattle area. Gourmondo offers full-service event catering, gourmet box lunches, wholesale bakery, and grab-and-go meals, and operates a suite of corporate and public cafes. Prior to her role at Gourmondo, Angela was CEO of Fair Start, a nonprofit organization that provides hands-on food service and hospitality training and social services to individuals experiencing barriers to employment. Angela was also co-founder and CEO of the Seattle-based hospitality group Ethan Stoll Restaurants. Angela was named to Puget Sound Business Journal's 40 Under 40 and 40 Under 40 Hall of Fame, honored as one of their Women of Influence, named one of the 50 most influential women in Seattle by Seattle Magazine, and recognized as one of YWCA's Women Who Dare. Angela serves on the board of directors for Seattle King County Workforce Development Council, the Downtown Seattle Association, our own Seattle Metro Chamber of Commerce, Fair Start, and the Grand Central Bakery Corporate Board. You are very busy, Angela. Thank you so much for moderating our conversation today. I am going to hand the mic over to you to kick off the panel. Tell us a bit about yourself, the industry, and our panelists today.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I have to say, I'm really excited for this conversation today. I have so much respect for the 3 panelists who are here to share their wisdom with us. I know that I have tapped at least one of them on the panel for some advice over the years. So I also think that this conversation is just so timely, given the uncertainty of the economy and how that really relates to the restaurant sector. Couple of quick stats that I think are worth sharing. As of January 2023, over 300,000 individuals in Washington State were employed in leisure and hospitality, which is up from 2021. So glad to see that. All in all, hospitality workers make up pre-pandemic over 12 million. There are over 12 million workers in America in the hospitality sector. And we've seen a bit of a decline from that because of the pandemic and restaurant closures. And I think now what's really interesting, and we'll get into some of this today, is just where we are in Seattle in the scheme of the economy. Seattle has seen an inflation of 8.4% since 2022. Food prices in Seattle have climbed by 11.3%. And the cost passed on to restaurants for prepared meals has increased 15%. So I know that there's a lot for our panelists to talk about today. Thank you for giving that background on me. I've been in the restaurant and hospitality industry for a long time, both on the for-profit founder space, nonprofit space, and now most recently taken over as CEO of Gourmondo. And, you know, we operate mostly in the corporate space, a lot of corporate catering and corporate cafes. It's a 26-year-old business that has grown, you know, really from the ground up, much as I know all of our panelists have grown their businesses. And, you know, being part of the fabric of both, you know, this corporate space and really serving that part of our community, and then also being part of, you know, everyday individual events for folks who are having birthday parties or weddings or special events, it really is important that we weave all of this together. And I know, you know, Kamala, Matt, and Shubert are also places that people in our region go to, you know, gather and celebrate. So really quickly, would love to introduce our panelists. So Kamala Saxton is the co-founder of CEO of Seattle's food truck turned restaurant Marination. In addition, she's a nonprofit board member, business incubator, CrossFitter, community advocate, parent, and a huge Prince fan. We'll have to talk about that later. Marination has 3 brick and mortar locations, a catering unit, and a concession stand at T-Mobile Park. Kamala has been an investor in several hospitality businesses and a startup baby food business. And she is also really excited about seeing Beyonce in concert this September, as am I. And I'm going to do my best, Kamala, to not say Kamala, as we have discussed previously. And so just, you know, flick me through the screen if I do. Matt Galvin is co-owner of Pagliacci Pizza and Macarena Bakery. Matt was born and raised in Seattle, passionate about building healthy communities. He has increasingly focused on issues of food security and the growing need to house our most vulnerable populations. Matt is a founding board member of the Third Door Coalition that advocates for permanent supportive housing for the chronically unsheltered. And Matt, I am really familiar with that work and so grateful for your time there. Shubert Ho is the CEO and co-founder, a chef by trade of Feedme Hospitality and Restaurant Group, and has been in business since 2008. After starting Shubidoo Catering and gaining ground as in the private events world, Shubert and his partners opened 1 brick and mortar every 2 years thereafter: Bar Dojo, Salt and Iron, The Market, San Kai, Shore Pine, Potlatch, Edmonds Waterfront Center, and Sam Properties. The company today has grown to over 500 employees, serving quality food and beverage in Edmonds and the greater Seattle area. As an equal opportunity employer, his diverse workforce enables Feedme Hospitality to provide a robust and multicultural array of cuisines. Schubert's career began in Santa Clara at Mission College Hospitality Management and is currently a longtime resident in Edmonds, Washington. And for those who are listening, if you don't regularly go to Edmonds, there is a lot happening there, and Shubert can keep you fed. So welcome, everyone, and thank you again for being here. We're going to just jump right into it. And I'm going to, Shubert, I'm going to start with you. Just if each of you can briefly describe your organizations and how you see yourselves fitting into the region's restaurant ecosystem.
Yeah, so we started with Shubidoo Catering as a caterer, and not as long as Gourmondo, and Gourmondo's been around a long time, been a mainstay of catering in the greater Seattle area. But we kind of work in a similar space, but more private events, a lot of weddings. And then, of course, our restaurants are mainly based in Edmonds, but we've expanded more recently to the Seattle Art Museum with the Market Seattle there, serving those great crab and lobster rolls that everybody sees on Matt's brioche buns. So really tasty. And, you know, we've really been proud to survive the last few years and to be still growing, and really want to bring the small community of Edmonds to the greater Seattle field to kind of hone back in on what used to be Main Street in the big city.
Great, thank you. Kamala, how about you go next?
Great. We started in 2009 with a food truck, and since have exited the food truck world and more so brick and mortars. We have a location on Alki, 6th and Virginia, and South Lake Union, Columbia City. Do a ton of catering and have a commissary kitchen in Columbia City as well. Last year was a great year to enter T-Mobile Park. So we have a concession there and look to grow in the years ahead. We were lucky enough to make it through the pandemic. We were 2 weeks away from signing 3 leases in Tacoma downtown and in Bellevue about prior to the shutdown. So just incredibly lucky on a number of fronts, and kind of where we see ourselves in the restaurant ecosystem is, I think we're one of the key spokes and key wheels in that system. It's kind of the cuisine that we serve, the structure of our company. We will always remain in the Northwest and be the Pacific Northwest company. We see a number of tourists given our locations, both downtown and on Alki, which allows us for some national exposure. And I think we pride ourselves on being really good spokespeople for Seattle, the Seattle restaurant scene. And as both Roz and I are incredibly involved in boards, and our background is actually in the nonprofit sector. In 2009, we decided to try this food truck scene and then hospitality scene out, and still here and plan to be here for as long as we're able to.
Wonderful, thank you. Matt.
Thanks, Angela. Happy to be here. Fun to have this conversation. And so I'm one of the owners of Pagliacci Pizza. Pagliacci's been in the Seattle community for 44 years. Try to give you a couple of things that I think are pretty interesting about our business. One, we have about 800 employees spanning 25 locations, all in this Seattle region. Our average manager's been with us over 12 years, which I think is one of the things that allows us to do the things that we do at a really high level and high volume. We are, I like to say, vertically integrated. We have a dedicated phone center on Capitol Hill that we've been operating for 25 years. We have a commissary where we make and deliver fresh dough for all of our locations every day. We are hand tossing every pizza. So we've kind of figured out the hardest way to make pizza, and that's kind of how we've gone to market. From a sustainability side, and one of the things that I'm super passionate about and really I think resonates with our employees and customers, as Pagliacci is the 3rd largest purchaser of green power in the city of Seattle. We've have a long-standing commitment to sustainability just in general, and hoping by 2024 we will be carbon neutral. So excited about lots of things that we're doing as a company, but for us it's all about execution every single day. We're open 361 days of the year and take a lot of pride in kind of meeting our mission every day. So thanks for having me here.
Great. Thank you. That's exciting. Matt, I'm going to actually stick with you and get into our next conversation around where we're going from here as we look ahead. What opportunities do you see for the industry to grow or change? And what do you hope to see?
Yeah, I think, well, it goes without saying that the pandemic has been super challenging for all of us, and challenged in ways that I don't think most of us were prepared. I think it is something we should consider as an industry that effectively our entire industry was out of business within a week of the start of the pandemic. And so, I think about the importance of just being fiscally disciplined on how you run your business and having enough cash in the bank to kind of prepare for those rainy days, because they do come and we have to be prepared for them. This inclement weather that we've found over the last several years in Seattle, whether it's the smoke days, the heat, or snow more frequently, has certainly challenged us from an operations and financial standpoint. But the thing that I think was all on most of our minds is the cost of inflation. So just cost of doing business has gone up. You already put together the great facts about double-digit growth in wages, as well as cost of food. And so we're really stuck with a couple of different options. One, you can try to cut costs, which from our perspective means you're compromising quality or putting more pressure on employees to be more efficient. or you raise prices. And we're in a fortunate market that we've been able to raise prices, but it pains me, I worry about it all the time, that the cost of purchasing our food or going out to restaurants is expensive. And so how do we sustain our financial kind of stability if we're losing transactions? So that's what I think weighs on me a lot. And I spend a lot of time thinking about how to kind of protect our business model going forward.
Yeah, that's great. Shubert, what do you see as some challenges to the industry right now?
You know, as we grow back into the more what used to be normal, we're looking at Washington State as a whole as lacking in a lot of tourism funds. And right now in the legislative process, they're talking about more tourism dollars. We spend only about 1.5 million a year as a state to promote our state as a place to visit. And we know we have the most beautiful background, the most beautiful backyard of trees in the entire United States, in my opinion. And our neighbor in Oregon spends over 50 million. And for us to really revitalize Seattle, first, we have to clean it up. We have to make it safe, and we have to bring people into town. And right now, it's solely done on the operators, the hotel operators, restaurant operators, the attractions that are in our state. We're really marketing ourselves right now instead of collectively being able to be spoken for by the state of Washington. And I think that's really important. If I saw last summer people beginning to swarm Pike Place Market again, and it was really cool to see it lively, and everybody wanted to be there, and people walking down the sidewalk and feeling like they could go shop to shop and continue to support local and support small businesses. You know, that's what we really are lacking. And I think I'd love to see more local tourism and state dollars come into play for that matter.
That's so important. Thank you. And hopefully we'll be able to come back to that. Kamala, what about you? Kamala.
It's quite a compliment. the other pronunciation. I think for us, you know, I second what Shubert and Matt said. It is on the operations side, it is not an easy decision ever to raise the costs, menu prices. It makes me ill every single time. I think I have to write here's the proper response, here's the canned response as to when people ask, and they don't. I mean, it's really, this is not ever something fun for owners and operators to raise prices. It does not bring us any joy at all. It is not to make the company more money or to make, you know, to line my pocketbooks. It's so we can just stay afloat and we can keep up with inflation, and we're not. Every company in the restaurant industry is absorbing the rising costs of doing business. And so I think that is that's a given. But one of the things we're seeing is that none of our employees, not none, the majority of them don't live in Seattle. They can't afford to live in Seattle. Our managers make six figures and they can't afford to live in Seattle. Our teachers can't afford to live in Seattle. Our officers, our fire, first responders, they can't afford to live in Seattle. So, you know, there's the housing is a huge conversation and how to address the housing crisis, but not only for all. It's let alone having our managers who have families. It's unaffordable. And I want my son's teacher to live in Seattle. I want our manager to live, our West Seattle manager who makes six figures to live in West Seattle, and they just can't afford it. So I think, you know, the cost of inflation, the cost of doing business, but I think this is an amazing state, and more specifically an amazing city. And then people, this is a tourist destination, and I think that needs to be met with tourism dollars or increased tourism dollars. But it is a hard city to live and do business in right now.
Yeah, and I know a few years ago, to Schubert's point around tourism, I think we ranked as 48th out of 50 in states that spend on tourism. I don't know if those numbers are still the same, if we've inched up or inched down, but we're certainly nowhere we need to be to make that happen. And again, the issues that you bring up Kamala, is, really salient and really connected with, what Matt was saying, and not being able to provide accessible housing for many. And I know it's been an ongoing challenge for the restaurant sector, dating back years. So the flip side of this coin is, where do we go from here? Like, what are the things that we are uniquely positioned at in Seattle that really will help us grow and change? So Kamala, maybe I'll ask you that question first.
I think for both my business partner, Roz, and I, we are looking at, there's when we made it out of the pandemic. And so if I had any thought about leaving, I'm not, just because I'm stubborn, I'm not leaving now. Like, so we made it out of this pandemic. But I think it forced a lot of operators to figure out, how do we survive post-pandemic? What do we need to do differently? How are consumer behaviors changing? And so, we have to look at partnerships. We have to look at scaling. We have to look at what are the other opportunities. We don't know where workers are going anymore. So how do we go? I mean, I think that pushed us into T-Mobile Park. We know people are going to be at games. They're going to be at sporting events. They're going to be at Beyonce concerts. They're going to be at train stations and airports. They will be at conventions. But do I think the masses are going to be in downtown Seattle going to work Monday through Friday? I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be there in Tacoma or Bellevue. And so it's forced us to, what was the key word of the last 3 years? Pivot. It's forced us to pivot. How do we meet people where they are, because they aren't in those normal places anymore? And how do we find key partners, whether it's local state agencies or other business operators, and how do we leverage the support of those entities? So I think there are opportunities and around, but it breaks a previous model.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I want to hear, Matt and Shubert, what opportunities that you see and how we move forward. But, I would love to stick quickly on this and just wonder, like, how have you what does that pivot look like? I think we all know what the pivot looked like during the pandemic. Everyone sort of tried this, new way of doing things. And Matt, maybe for your company, it was easier because people were staying home. But have you had to see that same kind of pivot back that Kamala was talking about, like pivoting back into this new world where maybe people aren't going back into the offices?
Yeah, for sure. The pivot is the great operative word here, because we've had to kind of reinvent how we ordered, how our customers were able to engage with us, whether it's picking up pizza or having deliveries and keeping our employees safe. So it was even though we were set up for delivery, really fortunately, since we're one of the few companies that actually has our own employees doing the deliveries, we were set up to do it. But trying to do that in the volume that it required and keeping employees safe was super, super challenging. So yeah, it continues to be a kind of stretch for us at times, just because we're trying to figure out where the market is today. And so we're trying to understand, well, the COVID sales are different than they are from 2019, and now they're different again. So we're just continuing to try to reinvent how we go to market and try to meet our customers where they're at. I think Kamala put it well.
Shubert, how about you? What's pivoted? What are you pivoting back?
We're pivoting back from, so I guess we were fortunate to be in a small town where everybody was stuck at home in their own little community. And so we had a lot of support locally from people buying with us and pouring back into small business on their main street. But moving into Seattle, into a building like Sam and the Russell Investments building, it was strange to see nobody on the streets walking around at certain times of the day. And that lunch crowd that was there is not there anymore. And so what we're still trying to figure out is how is business going to move forward in a place like downtown Seattle, where it was so vibrant before, and now it is still kind of sleepy, where we had the opposite effect in, let's just say, downtown Edmonds before the pandemic. And during the week, it was kind of sleepy and busy on the weekends. Now it's not so much anymore. People are working from home, going out to lunch, going out to dinner midweek. And, another great pivot is, of course, small town politics, where they don't like the they didn't like the street eateries that we had. So we had to take them down after we spent thousands of dollars putting them up for the good of all. And, lots to contend with, and politics that I never wanted to get into. And that's kind of my big pivot these days.
Interesting. Well, then sticking with you and going back to the original question of like, where do we have opportunities to grow from here? And what are you looking at and hoping for?
Yeah. The labor force this last year has been crazy. And Matt, I don't envy delivery at all. We tried that for a second and I just said, forget it. This last summer, we hired a record number of high school kids because there were no adults around to work for some reason. And so it's really cool to be able to see these kids so eager to work, and they're young, they're strong, they're ready to learn. And it's an opportunity for us to train the next generation of hospitality workers from the ground up. And nobody is jaded. Nobody has any expectations. They just want to learn and eat really good food. And it's really cool to see that transformation. And we're trying to bring that into our catering business, where a lot of these kids have after school activities and sports and things like that. And they're able to work the catering event here and there and learn how to hustle and build knowledge and build work ethic for the future. And I know probably 90% of them won't want to work in a restaurant for the rest of their lives. They're going to move on to become lawyers, doctors, engineers, whatever it may be. But I know I'm a much better business owner today because I worked my butt off at my first job at Johnny Rockets when I was 16. So
that's great. If we have time, we're going to go back to like, what was everyone's first job? Matt, what about you? What are you looking at in the future?
Oh, I want to talk about my first job. No.
What was your first job? Okay, just say it.
Pizza.
Okay.
And people always said, you should open a pizza place when you get older. And I was always thinking, well, are they saying that because I'm not very smart? Nobody told me to be a doctor. But anyways, here I am. And I think it's a good segue because I think our industry really it's intoxicating in so many great ways. And, I think once you get it in your blood, it's hard to get it out. And it's such a fun industry and keeps you young and vibrant. Having said that, I think one of the challenges in our industry are we just have a ton of employees that suffer from addiction, mental health challenges. And I think as an industry, we need to figure out better ways to support employees, provide the support and services surrounding those who are in need. Given the hours that people tend to work, given the fast pace, given the hopefully we've done a better job of addressing some of the stressors around the work environment, but it still exists, and it is hard and it's pressure packed. So I think we as a company have spent lots of time and energy trying to address this, but I think as an industry, we just have a long way to go. And I hope that we spend more and more time talking about how to support our employees who are suffering through different crises.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think, I would just welcome anyone to chime in here, but as like sticking on that for a second, and as we talked about the pivot that we're all having to do in our business, but our employees have had to do that too, right? Like they've really been sort of at the whim of how businesses had to shift and then shift back, and they're often on the front lines. What would you all want people who are listening to this to know about your teams and how, certain behaviors either positively or negatively impact them, your staff when customers go out, just so the non-restaurant folks can hear like what should they do and what shouldn't they do in a restaurant that really causes extra strain on staff?
I'll jump in first. I think it is I am a parent of a 6-year-old, and I know that I'm not a perfect parent every single minute of the day. I'll take about a 20%. If I'm good about 20%, I'll call it a win. But we're still dealing with humans, and we're dealing with food, and that you can follow a recipe in home, and it's not going to be perfect every single time, even though you've done exactly what you were supposed to do with this recipe. This is an industry that it's not automated yet. It still involves human, it involves delicate ingredients. And so it's not going to be perfect every single time. So there's a certain amount of grace. I think as a parent, I've learned to give myself a certain amount of grace when I'm not perfect. And I think on our guest end, just a certain amount of grace. And I think the pandemic we were really, really lucky. I think our guests practiced so much grace and overextended themselves when I thought, you've been laid off, like, and you continue to come back. And I know that that money is tight. And I think just to have that continue, that understanding that we are dealing with humans. And if things take a little longer, it's probably because we had 3 people that called out who aren't here. And I have my manager's 15-year-old son who's never worked in a restaurant is now serving your food to you. And so just the continuation of that kind of grace that we saw during the pandemic is really appreciated.
I think you're going to get the same answer from me, especially with the record number of high school kids we hired this last year, and having some of that patience and experience of going to a restaurant that probably couldn't even seat you at one point a few years ago because you had to take your food to go, provide some flexibility for you to receive your food and your service, and consider that that's the best we can offer at that moment. And of course, we're always working to be better no matter what. And that is what is hospitality, is always trying to one up your last move so that you can surprise the guest, the same guest that still comes to your restaurant, and provide them with a different and better experience every single time.
Yeah, so I do think we're really blessed, and we spend a lot of time just culturally talking about, oh, this angry guest. I mean, the vast majority of people that interact with Pagliacci are so positive and so appreciative. And as I like to say, everybody's always excited to see the pizza delivery person. I mean, we're delivering great stuff, and people are excited about that. So on the one hand, we're super blessed. I do always appreciate feedback, though, and I think we thrive on getting feedback, both good and bad. And so just reminding customers that if they're coming forward and we're listening, we're trying to get better, and we're constantly trying to make it a better experience for customers and employees alike. So appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, well, and I think the thing that I would want people to hear is, to your original point, Matt, is we do have a lot of people who are coming into the restaurant industry because we are such a welcoming place to teenage, to first, people who have a first job or people who need another chance as an opportunity employer. And I think that the pressure that guests' expectation of perfection can really exacerbate some of the trauma that a lot of people carry just in general, but particularly, people who have been frontline workers throughout all of this. And, I guess I would give a little bit of a plug right now to any restaurant hospitality worker that's tuning in, that I think we have some great resources in our region. Big Table is a nonprofit that has been out there to offer financial and other assistance to workers who are experiencing hardships. I know Kate Willman and David Nichols over at 8 Row, they regularly host and have on their Instagram opportunities for Ben's Friends. It may have been renamed, but it's a recovery support circle for people specifically in the hospitality sector who have been experiencing addiction and are in recovery. And so I think we're starting to get to a place where I know that as a former, business owner and now a CEO, certainly my role at Fair Start, there is a little bit of a different handling of employment issues that are clearly related to mental health and to, to substance abuse. And I think, Kamala, your point of like, they're humans. And I think that so often guests can get caught up in the emotion of this the celebratory dinner, or this emotional expectation that involves food and gathering around a table. And it's really easy to displace some of their own trauma, some of their own feelings of anxiety onto the person delivering or preparing their meal. And so I recognize that there's a lot of opportunity out there for the industry to serve the people who we work with, and certainly opportunity for patrons to also be part of that. So somewhat related, talking about equity and access to opportunity for underrepresented Black, Indigenous, and other POC communities, I think is a critical piece of our region's recovery. And certainly those communities are recovering at a slower pace. So just wondering, like, how are you including this community, and how can this change the industry? And Matt, why don't I start with you?
Thanks. I think this has been, for us, a really fulfilling partnership we've developed with Community Passageways. I'm sure some of you are familiar with Dom Davis and his team that are really trying to change the narrative, providing opportunities for youth, particularly folks of Black and Brown background that are, whether they're charged with felonies, have a record, but trying to kind of get their life back on track. And some of that's getting kids back into school, getting them enrolled in playing sports again. It could also be getting them a job. And so what we've done is partnered with Community Passageways and brought in a number of the youth from their organization and brought them into Pagliacci to start making pizza. I always like to remind everybody that in some ways, as Shubert just said, some ways the less you know, the better. All you need is a willingness to work hard and be nice to people, and we got you. We can get you tossing pizza in no time. So that's been a really rewarding partnership. Second piece is that we've spent a lot of time and energy providing English language learners classes for improving their English as a mechanism for growth in the company, and also just for better functioning in our community. Lots of employees have enrolled in this. We now have about 25% of our employees have participated in this program, or 25% of our managers, our general managers have participated in this program, which has been really, really awesome to see. These folks that have come in, struggled with English, and now are running some of our busiest locations and are super passionate about their growth. Seeing them craft long emails to their staff, presenting on an all-employee Teams meeting with English that is just fantastic has been really, really fulfilling. And I think I see us doing more and more of that, because that's a mutually beneficial opportunity for us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Shubert, how about you?
Well, our company is 4 founders, and we're 50% Asian American owned, and that kind of it's reflective of who we bring on as well. I would say about 47% of our staff, our entire staff, is minority or non-white individuals. And then when you go to gender, about 53% of it is female, 47% male, and then 2% non-binary, if that math works out right. But and we really embrace that within our culture, and that's how we're able to provide such worldly cuisine through our catering company and through all the different restaurants that we own. I mean, I think we just have a little symptom of ADHD as well, not wanting to do the same thing over and over again, be a cookie cutter restaurant group. We have so many different varieties of cuisine in our repertoire. But this also the equity portion also ties into food insecurity, which we've worked a lot with the Foundation for Edmonds School District. I'm on the board and I focus on food insecurity and changing the food system within the schools to have just better food and not from a frozen packet of whatever. And the same goes for the senior population, where in the pandemic, they couldn't even leave their homes. And so we work a lot with the senior population in our area in providing that equitable access to food, especially when they can't afford it. Right now, you can go to the Edmonds Waterfront Center, and if you're a senior that is in the area, a resident of the local area, and I think it's Edmonds and a little bit outside of that, you don't have money to eat, you can eat for free there every single day for lunch, Monday through Friday. And we provide that service in partnership with people like the Edmonds Senior Center and the Foundation for Edmonds School District. And so I believe in our core function, and because we are who we are already, is that naturally we will kind of replicate ourselves in terms of our hiring practices, in terms of how we pour back into the community and bring to light the inequities that are currently. That also ties into what people are doing at the state level, is trying to provide free lunches for every kid in the school system. And I think that's very important. Next would be changing that cheese sandwich from a hamburger and American slice of cheese to something actually represents a really good cheese sandwich, a grilled cheese sandwich. You know, it's not hard to make a good grilled cheese sandwich.
Yeah. Just to note, that's Marcus Riccelli is a representative out of Spokane, and he is sponsoring that bill for all students to get a free meal at school. So write to your legislators if you're listening. Kamala, how about you?
Our company is, I think, unique in that we are 100% BIPOC owned. Our 98% of our managers are employees of color. The majority of those managers are women. I think as far as equity, so it's, I don't know, it's a unique question, I think, for myself always, because I mean, just, here we are. I think what Roz and I really had to address is during the pandemic, like what equity and access looks like to us is increasing managers' salary by 30%, so that yes, you have access to this opportunity, but you need to get paid more. And we are incredibly fiscally responsible. I mean, we work with a company called AMP, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with, and the owner of that company is never loose with his pocketbook, and he is like, why do you guys sit on so much cash? And I think both for Roz and I, we are a single parent, grew up in a single parent household. I mean, I always think I'm one step away from like coming home and having the power shut off. And so we had to, you know, with Rick's help, he was like, it is okay to pay yourselves a little bit more and pay the managers more. And so that is, it still makes me really nervous. But the equity and access for us look like increasing hourly wages as well as manager wages, and having us move to people call it bonuses, profit share. Like that was it's a lot. It's a lot, and it's okay to do. Like we just had to finally come to terms with, we aren't going to go under tomorrow, but we may, you know, next week, but until then it's fine. And so that's what equity and access look like for us, is we already had managers and owners who were, you know, BIPOC and part of the BIPOC community, but financially we had to increase salaries and wages.
Yeah. Quick follow-up to that, if I may. You know, we know that women of color receive less investment dollars, have a higher rate of banks declining loans. What advice do you have to other women of color who either want to get into the restaurant business or just start a business?
Both Roz and I were declined, and we don't have any investors. We were declined a loan when we first started this company, and on paper, we should have got that loan. 3 other people who on paper, who had nothing to lose, were granted bank loans. And that's fine. I'm glad it didn't work out. This business is too hard for me to share my money with anyone else. Roz is on her third double today. So that's fine. I think our advice is to just keep going. There is, I don't know why I've always had this philosophy, but money can never stop you from doing something. It's out there. It just is, it might not be in the most traditional ways of accessing money, but it is out there. And if people want to talk about equity and access, then they need to put their money where their mouth is. And my advice is go out and get them. Go out and get it.
Yeah.
You say you believe in equity and access, prove it. Here's your opportunity to prove it. And so that's one of the things we've been really proud of. It hasn't worked out financially for us in some occasions, but if I'm going to walk the talk, I need to prove it. And we've invested in small businesses, just both with time and with money. And at the end of the day, it is all going to work out. If that is what you believe in, if that is part of your belief system, it will work out.
Yeah. It
just might not work out tomorrow.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And my next question is our last question. I'm going to let Matt start it, which is, what do you want people to take away from this conversation? But I think I want to just hop in there and say, I want people to take away from this conversation, if there's one thing, it's really what you just said. And it's that we need more people who are investing in businesses who are founded by people of color, particularly Black and Indigenous businesses around our region. And so I think that is a real need that the business community and the investor community can really solve for. And so it's exactly what you said. It's putting your money where your mouth is if you believe in equity. So I appreciate that. Matt, I know you have to drop a couple of minutes early, so I'm going to let you tackle this question and then just drop whenever you need to. What do you want people to walk away with this conversation? How can the business community engage and learn from your work?
Yeah, I think we've all highlighted the kind of fragile ecosystem that is our industry, and that it's challenging in lots and lots of ways. It's also massively fulfilling, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. So it's really, really great. I think we all make choices with our dollars, and just keeping listeners, anyone paying kind of attention to support our industry, support local businesses, big, small businesses in our community. We're hiring lots and lots of people. We're giving people shots. It is in many ways a meritocracy, and we provide these incredible opportunities. And we just appreciate people that are supporting our business, whether it's for the birthday party or the catering event at your business, or it's just coming in for, in our case, a slice of pizza. We appreciate all the support, and keeping your dollars in the local economy is really what makes it go around. So we're very thankful to be in the position we're in. So, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt. Kamala, what do you think on this? What's the takeaway for you?
Similar to Matt, is that continue to support small businesses and large. All business in Seattle right now is good business. I don't want local businesses to leave this area. I want there to be enough of an invitation and enough reason to stay in this area. I also feel like we're incredibly lucky. I mean, to Matt's point earlier, 99.9% of response is positive. And so this partnership with local businesses and its community members is strong, and it continues to strengthen with time. But the continuation of local support is incredibly needed and valued.
Yeah. Great. Shubert?
Well, it's hard not to just echo those last two things, but I think we continue to engage in the community as patrons and as business owners. Restaurants and groups like ours often have a really large platform to share and spread community support or a good idea, or even donate to a cause. Usually we are the ones doing the fundraisers for disaster relief in any part of the world. And 5, 10, 15, 20% of our sales on this one day, 1 week, 1 month goes towards this cause. We do that so often. And with the margins that we operate in are very slim. Everybody knows that. So as long as the greater community stays engaged in buying local, eating local, then we're able to continue that community work that we feel so strongly about.
Yeah.
Can I just say one last thing? Is that I also want people to know that not every problem can be solved with a minimum wage hike. Not every problem can be solved with a levy. Not every problem can be solved by asking business owners to do more. That's not how problems are solved. And so I think every time there is an issue in the city, and not state, like more specifically this city, is that you don't throw money at that problem. And you don't put, the minimum wage hike is not going to solve, or another hike, the increase, they're not going to solve problems. Everyone on this phone call is beyond minimum wage. That's not a business practice that we employ is minimum wage. It's minimum wage and opportunities and healthcare and a room for advancement. And your son needs treatment and let's help you find the resource. I mean, it's beyond that, but you can't keep asking business owners, particularly those on this call, businesses of our size, to solve city problems.
Yeah, I think, really what I appreciate you saying that. And I also appreciate, the sentiment from Matt and Shubert. Matt, thank you. I know you have to drop. Matt. But I think that the one thing that really is part of that is community, right? There is something that I think was really special during the pandemic that in the years that I've lived in Seattle, since 2000, have not seen this sort of gathering of community to support.
Absolutely, yep.
To support each other, to support our neighbors. And I think that, to your point, there are so many different tools in our toolkit in how we can thrive as a city and not leave anyone behind. And I think that really what that is coming together, not pulling apart. Yeah. So I appreciate that. And I appreciate all of you for, Matt, Kamala, whose name I'm not saying, like the vice presidents.
Aspirations. I got aspirations.
Right. And Shubert, thank you so much for being here. It's been a great conversation. Vivian, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
And Angela, finally, congratulations on the new position. That is exciting. Congratulations.
Now you and I will have some things to talk about, running the gamut of nonprofit business, nonprofit business, nonprofit.
Yep.
Thank you so much. I think this conversation will really resonate with a lot of our listeners because even if we're not directly employed by the hospitality industry, so many of us, enjoy frequenting those welcoming environments you've built within your establishments and can find ways to support the industry better. So this puts a lot into perspective, and it's been great to hear from you, the leaders. So thank you again. Thanks, Angela, for moderating today, and thank you, Shubert, Kamala, and Matt for joining and engaging in this discussion on the region's restaurant industry. And I'm just going to echo what you've all said, and I'd like to encourage everyone watching, as you're able to get out and support your local community. Maybe try out a new restaurant, maybe one of the ones highlighted here today, or even your favorite local restaurant as well. And then before we get going, I would like to again thank our sponsors, Business Health Trust. And I'm also going to give one last plug for the Seattle Chamber. If you enjoyed the program today and you want to get more involved with what we're doing, you can visit our website at seattlechamber.com to become a member or check out some of the other events we have coming up this spring. So thank you all again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.